I just returned home from a visit to the Walla Walla wine region, which is in both Washington and Oregon in the Pacific Northwest in the United States. I did a couple days of wine tasting while I was there. So in this video, I'm going to provide an overview of the Walla Walla AVA, identify some of the wines that I recommend based on my tasting experiences, and also identify and discuss the 6 best wineries to visit when you're in the Walla Walla wine region. Walla Walla is a multi-state AVA, with 2/3 of the region being located in Washington and the other third in Oregon. Although you hear about all the rain in Seattle, that rain does not make its way to Walla Walla, and in fact, it's very warm and dry there. This is so because the Cascade Mountains shield the region from the coastal influence of the Pacific Ocean. Due to the northern latitude, Walla Walla receives an abundance of sunshine as well, with up to 17 hours per day of sunlight. Despite the fact that you hear California being referred to as sunny California, Walla Walla receives almost an hour a day more sunshine than California on average. While there's warm days, there's also cool nights, and so there's a substantial diurnal range in Walla Walla. This helps to extend the growing season and preserve acidity and freshness in the fruit. Cabernet is king in Walla Walla, and 36% of plantings are devoted to Cabernet Sauvignon. 18% are devoted to Syrah, and 16% Merlot. And so between these 3 red grapes alone, you have 70% of the plantings. And in fact, in Walla Walla, 95% of the production is red wine, and only 5% is white wine. Many of the wineries I'll be discussing in this episode, though, do have some white wines, but in some cases, they just have to source the fruit for those white wines from other parts of Washington. The Walla Walla AVA does have a sub-AVA that's known as the Rocks District of Milton Freewater. The Rocks District has special soils that are composed of basalt and gravel, and these gravel and basalt soils help to radiate heat, which increases the warmth in the area and helps to ensure the grapes achieve substantial ripeness and concentration. One of the top producers in the Rocks District is Cayuse, along with its sister properties of No Girls and Horsepower. Unfortunately, however, while Cayuse, Horsepower, and No Girls all make some exceptional wines that I very much enjoy, they're not at all interested in receiving visitors, and they're all close to the public. And so I'm not going to be discussing them much in this video, other to say that if you're interested in trying their wines, they're definitely some excellent wines, and you'll need to be on their mailing list to obtain them in most instances. With that by way of background, we're going to now shift gears and talk about the best wineries to visit in Walla Walla. And in connection with each such winery, I'm going to be discussing my favorite wines from that producer and my wine recommendations. There should be something for everyone in here, as there's a range of wineries represented, there's various price points, and there's also both tasting rooms and actual wineries. The visits to the tasting room can typically be accomplished in 45 minutes to an hour, whereas the winery visits take a little bit longer, probably 90 minutes to 2 hours. These are the exact same wineries that I visited just last week, and so if you visit all 6 of these wineries and you do it in 2 days, you'll be replicating my schedule. The good thing about Walla Walla is that it's very manageable logistically, and so even if you don't bother clustering your visits, nothing is really more than 15 minutes away. So as long as you allow 30 minutes between visits, you should have plenty of time to get to your next destination. The first of the best wineries to visit in Walla Walla is Abeja Winery, which is located in the East Side Wine District. Abeja means bee in Spanish, and that name was selected for this winery to emphasize this producer's sustainability. This winery was founded about 20 years ago, and in addition to being a winery, they also have an inn along with a winery restaurant. And so if you so choose, you can also stay here and dine here during your visit as well. They also have a stunning estate with a garden that supplies much of the food that's served in the restaurant. This entire property was absolutely bursting with life, and in fact, this is the only winery that I saw in Walla Walla that had to put nets on their grapevines to prevent the birds from eating them all. And also, while I was there walking the property, I saw a number of wild turkeys walking by. I was extremely impressed with all the wines that I tasted at Abeja. They have a beekeeper's line that has less expensive wines that are more approachable and ready to enjoy immediately. And I had a rosé that I even enjoyed, despite the fact that I'm not a big rosé guy. And then I had a tasting with some of the library wines. And there was an estate Chardonnay, a Cabernet Franc, and I was also able to taste several bottles of the Cabernet Sauvignon. Some examples included the Heather Hill Estate Cabernet Sauvignon, and also a couple different vintages of the Columbia Valley Cabernet Sauvignon. My favorite wine of the entire visit was the 2014 Columbia Valley Cabernet Sauvignon. This was a library release, as the current vintage is the 2019 Columbia Valley Cabernet Sauvignon, but I tried that one as well, and both of them are excellent. Better still, the 2019 version of this wine sells for around $55 if you can track it down in the retail channels. So that's an excellent price for a wine of this quality. And with just a few more years of additional age on it, you'll have a really special wine. But it's already showing extremely well right now, and you'd be hard-pressed to find a Cabernet Sauvignon of this quality for only $55. But again, I really did enjoy all the wines that I tasted at Abeja, and highly recommend visiting and tasting this producer's excellent lineup. If you go to taste, you'll have two different options. Of course, you'll get a free tasting if you're a member or if you're staying at the property in their inn. Otherwise, there's two different tastings available. One is the introductory tasting, which is around $40 per person, and it's refundable with the purchase of 2 bottles. Or if you'd like to level up a bit and try some library wines with some food pairings, you can do the estate experience. That's the tasting that I selected, and it also included a nice tour of the property. The next of the best wineries to visit in Walla Walla is Doubleback Winery. Doubleback Winery was founded by former NFL quarterback Drew Bledsoe back in 2007. The name comes from the fact that Drew Bledsoe doubled back and went to his hometown of Walla Walla to start making wine following the conclusion of his illustrious 14-year NFL career. Doubleback has 3 wines. They have a Cabernet Sauvignon, an Estate Cabernet Sauvignon, and a Merlot. You may be able to find the Cabernet Sauvignon in retail channels, but you'll definitely need to be on the allocation list to obtain the Estate Cabernet Sauvignon and the Merlot. One of the reasons that I was able to visit 3 wineries a day in Walla Walla is that it's extremely unusual to receive a tour of the winemaking facility. And in fact, during my 2 days there, I only saw one winemaking facility when I was there. But that facility was at Doubleback Winery. And I'm glad I saw it because the winemaker there is using a variety of maturation vessels to mature his wines. In addition to using new French oak barriques, they use concrete vessels, as well as large oak foudre, like what they use in Italy. And I found that this had a very beneficial impact on the wines, as it really helped with the tannin management. The tannins were soft and silky, and even the 2020 Cabernet Sauvignon was extremely approachable and enjoyable. But yet these wines are also very capable of aging. You can probably find the Cabernet Sauvignon in retail channels, and it should run you around $140 or so. This Cabernet Sauvignon from Doubleback Winery is absolutely one of the top Cabernet Sauvignons in all of Washington and compares very favorably to Cabernet Sauvignon that costs much more than that from other regions. In terms of visitation, they definitely have visits by appointment only, and they do prioritize their mailing list allocation members. So you definitely want to make sure that you plan ahead and allow for plenty of lead time if you're going to be trying to set up a visit to Doubleback Winery. If you're interested in wine recommendations, wine collecting strategies, and learning more about wine, please do subscribe to my channel. I've been collecting wine for more than 15 years and also have a level 4 diploma from the WSET. So I have both formal certification as well as substantial practical knowledge from the School of Hard Knocks. The next of the best wineries to visit in Walla Walla is Sleight of Hand. Like Doubleback Winery, Sleight of Hand was founded in 2007 and is also located in the Southside Wine District, very close to Oregon. Sleight of Hand has always been one of the more enjoyable wineries to visit in Walla Walla, as they have a very laid-back tasting room. They have a heavy emphasis on music, and so there's 3,000 records that are available for purchase, and they also play most of them throughout the day. While Sleight of Hand has always been a fun winery to visit, the best part is that the wines have been getting progressively better, And for the past 4 or 5 years, they're making some of the best wines in all of Walla Walla. Sleight of Hand has wines that are available at a wide variety of price points. For example, they have a Riesling that sells for $22 and a Chardonnay for $35, and they also have some red blends that range from $25 to $35. These were all very enjoyable wines that offer excellent quality for their price point. After that, there's a step up in quality and you get to a trio of wines that sell for around $65 to $75. There's a wine that's called the Illusionist that sells for $65. That's a Cabernet Sauvignon based blend that also includes 10% Cabernet Franc. And then there's a wine called the Archimage, which also sells for $65 a bottle. And that one is a blend that consists of 55% Cabernet Franc and 45% Merlot. But my personal favorite is the Psychedelic Syrah, which sells for around $75 a bottle and is a single vineyard Syrah. At the very high end, Sleight of Hand has a very special Syrah that's called Spiders from Mars. This is a 100% Syrah that comes from the Ziggy Stardust block at Elevation Vineyard. This one is a big step up in quality, but also in price, as this one will sell for around $125 a bottle or so. I'd definitely like to try this one in a lineup with some of the other top Syrahs from Walla Walla, such as one from Cayuse, and see who came out on top. If you're wondering about the tasting fee for Sleight of Hand, it's a very reasonable $20, and this is refundable with a purchase of $50 worth of wine. The next of the best wineries to visit in Walla Walla is Long Shadows. Long Shadows is located in the West Side Wine District, which is around 15 minutes from downtown. This is a winery that was started about 20 years ago. The founder knew Chihuly, and so there's a number of the Chihuly art pieces on display. The tasting room has plush, swanky furnishings and outstanding views with floor-to-ceiling windows. The tasting is $30 per person and is refundable with a $50 wine purchase. While the tasting fee is an extra $10 than a number of the tasting fees in Walla Walla, it's definitely worth it, as that includes a meat and cheese plate that was very nice, as well as a large number of wines to taste. There were 3 different white wines. There was a Riesling, a Sauvignon Blanc, and a Chardonnay, and then there were at least 6 or 7 red wines to taste. So you certainly get a lot of value for the $30. The Riesling was an exceptional value at only $20 a bottle and $12 for a half bottle. While it has a slight amount of residual sugar, this was more than offset by the ample acidity, and so it was really very difficult to detect the residual sugar in this Riesling. I also really enjoyed the Sequel Syrah, which sells for around $65 per bottle, and the Cabernet Sauvignon, which is called Feather. But the one thing I'll note about the wines at Long Shadow is that the red wines definitely have some tannins that are a little more grippy than some of the red wines that you'll taste in Walla Walla. And so these wines will definitely benefit from some additional bottle age before you start digging in. Gramercy Cellars was founded by Master Sommelier Greg Harrington and is the next of the best wineries to visit in Walla Walla. Gramercy is located in the West Side Wine District, but it's really extremely close to downtown, only about half a mile or so. This is a good visit to schedule towards the end of the day, as you can cover a lot of ground quickly, and you could probably finish this visit in 30 to 45 minutes, as the tastes go quite quickly. There's typically 5 to 6 tastes of new release wines, and that'll cost you around $20, and that's refundable with a $50 purchase. Gramercy Cellars definitely makes wines in a lighter, fresher style than many of the producers in Walla Walla, and so if that's something that you're interested in, you definitely want to check them out. They had a Peak Pool white wine and a Viognier that were somewhat interesting, and then they had some lighter red wines, but definitely by far and away my favorite 2 wines that I tasted there were the Lagniappe Syrah and the Columbia Valley Cabernet Sauvignon. So those sold for $65 and $60 respectively. And the great thing about the Lagniappe Syrah is that when I was in Walla Walla the time before, I ended up purchasing a 2011 version of the Lagniappe, and that one showed extremely well when I drank it about a year ago. And so it definitely is one that will age and continue to improve in your cellar. The next of the best wineries to visit in Walla Walla is one that I visited every time that I've been in town, and also when I've been in Woodinville, which is close to Seattle. I'm talking about Mark Ryan. Mark Ryan sources fruit to make crowd-pleasing wines, and they have a very enjoyable lineup. The tasting fee is a reasonable $20, and I'm also a big fan of their policy, which provides that fee is refundable with a purchase of as little as $40. I'd certainly much rather be spending money on wine than on tasting fees. This tasting room is extremely convenient to visit as it's right off the square. So if you're stopping for lunch or if you're done for the day and are walking around the square before dinner, you can definitely pop in for a quick tasting. While the tasting lineup may start off with a white wine or two, at Mark Ryan, they're really about the red blends. They have a number of different GSM blends and also Bordeaux blends. Most of these wines do extremely well with critics, as you can see from the whiteboard that they have, which posts all the scores that they receive, many of which are in the 90s. At Mark Ryan, it was the Cabernet Sauvignons that I liked the best. The Dead Horse Cabernet Sauvignon is from Red Mountain, and that's one that I enjoyed quite a bit. And then things finished up with the Old Vines Cabernet Sauvignon, and that one sells for $80. And that was definitely my favorite wine of the tasting. If you are also going to be visiting Willamette Valley while you're in the Pacific Northwest, be sure to check out the video in my pinned comment below.